Hello and welcome to FPL Natty. It is almost time for game week 14 to start. Today at the time of this recording it is Friday night, and tomorrow at 11 o'clock is when the windows close for game week number 14 to do your transfers. But before we do that, I'm going to share with you my team selection for game week 14. I've made a couple of changes that I think you should be aware of. If you're new, you know what to do. Give this video a thumbs up. Even before it starts, just for seeing my face, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe, press that press that red button down below, and press the bell as well, because you don't know when I'm going to be posting videos. I don't even know when I'm going to be posting videos, so you press that bell, then you will know when my next video is going to be coming. But let's get right into this video, my team selection for game week number 14. Let's go. So let's have a quick recap on how I did for game week number 13. I got 48 points, as you can see down below, down 17.9%. So now I am 117 points off of the top 10k. So that has grown by like, I think, what, 13 points from last week. So it's not great. What was it? Minus 324,205 places. It was not a great week. I think my main culprits for game week number 13 were Bowen, Mark Gahey, who else didn't do nothing? Foden, Raya, pretty much most of my team. My bench had about 25 points in it. Ward had a clean sheet, Andreas got an assist, Webster didn't do anything, but Nico Williams also got an assist as well. So yeah, let's scrap game week 13, and I have made some changes to that. I have taken out, firstly, Jarrod Bowen. He needed to go. I think what I heard from him is that he said that he is not on pens anymore. He said that in the interview after the game. And also David Moores is not sure if he's going to be fit to play after an ankle injury that he got in training. So that meant he missed the Europa League conference game they had on Thursday. So for me, that, based on his form, he had to go. So I got rid of him. And I've also got rid of Nico Williams. It was important that he had to come out of my squad. He wasn't really getting much game time in my squad anyways. And he got a rare clean sheet last week against Liverpool, which no one expected. But he hasn't been in my squad for a while. And to be honest, Nottingham Forest aren't very, very good, just in general. So those are the two changes that I've made. Yes, it's another -4, but I feel we're still quite early in the season. We have a kind of a break with the World Cup where we can make unlimited transfers, and then we have another period of a couple of games before Christmas, and then we have another wild card that we can use for next year as well. So I'm not really too fussed about making these changes. They're not major, and I haven't used any of my chips yet. So I've still got my free hit, my bench boost, and also my triple captain. So I've got still 3 left to play from now to the end of the season. So moving on to who I've got in my squad for game week number 14. Let's start with David Raya. He is back in my squad, only 4.5 million, and he's playing Wolves. And Wolves are currently the league's lowest scorers, scoring only 5 times in 12 matches. So I'm hoping that this form continues and Raya himself gets a clean sheet, because he is like amazing at saves. 51 saves and 14 save points this season, which is more than any other goalkeeper. So I'm hoping not only does he get save points, hopefully Wolves aren't peppering Brentford's goal, but he also gets a clean sheet as well. In defense, most of you have him, Kieran Trippier. He is also, which I saw this week, is an alternative captain choice to Haaland, who, as we know, may not play, but we can speak about that a bit later. So Trippier has produced returns in all 6 appearances at home at St James's Park, averaging 7 points per match. So I'm hoping for a clean sheet again against Aston Villa. Yes, they've got this kind of caretaker manager in at the moment, and they did batter Brentford last week, but I think that was just a blip in Villa's form, and hopefully at home Trippier can produce a clean sheet. In is a new guy, and this is Ben White for Arsenal. He's doing really, really well right back at the moment, creating 6 chances in 6 games, 5 clean sheets and 2 assists is his current output, and I think this should be an easy clean sheet against Nottingham Forest, who, as we know, are terrible, even though they did beat Liverpool last game week. One player that I'm unsure about is Cancelo. Pep said that he's suffering with a fever or flu, something like that. So I am totally unsure about whether or not he's actually going to feature. But because I am on the fence, and you know that Pep doesn't really share his squads fully, I'm going to keep him in my squad for now. I think it's important that Cancelo stays just in case he does actually play. If not, I do have some players on the bench who can take his place. Zaha, as I spoke about last game week, I was going to get rid of him, but I felt like there was other areas, as I said, like Bowen, who I feel was more expensive and not doing as much, whereas Zaha is still on penalties and has still got good fixtures with Southampton, West Ham and Nottingham Forest coming before the World Cup break. Other than that, to be honest, I think he is a bit of a trap in terms of FPL asset, and for the price he is, I think he's what, 7.5. I haven't got it in front of me. Yeah, I think it's about 7.5. I might see where that goes with him after that World Cup, well, during that World Cup break, and try to probably shift him out for maybe an upgrade to maybe a Maddison. I'll see what Leicester's fixtures are saying after that period of time. But at the moment, I'm going to keep him because Southampton haven't kept a clean sheet away from home at all. And with 4 goals and 1 assist, which is 34 points at Selhurst Park in 5 games, I feel that Zaha could potentially get some returns for me. He needs to reward all of us that have held him. I think there's around 25% of FPL managers that have him in their squad. He needs to show us what he can do. Otherwise, I might even downgrade him to Eze, who is pretty much got the same output without penalties, but is way cheaper. Another player that really surprised all of us last week was Phil Foden. He suffered from Pep Roulette last week in game week 13, even after being the most brought in transferred player in that game week. And to be honest, Pep didn't give any reason as to why he didn't start him. He just said, Mahrez is playing. That's literally all he said. But he did bring him on at the 60-minute mark after 1 hour. I guess Mahrez wasn't playing very well. Then Foden came in. Didn't bring any returns, but it might potentially show us that he's going to start with Foden this game week. And look who it's against. It's against Leicester. Leicester have a rich turn of form. I think they've got 4 clean sheets in the last 5. But I feel at the Etihad, they're not really going to do much, to be honest. But that's great because it's not even at the Etihad. It's away. But I think Foden, hopefully he starts and plays 90 minutes and he produces returns for all of us that are currently holding him. Martinelli, this is a player I'm not going to get rid of anytime soon. It was either him or Saka, to be honest, a couple of game weeks ago when I was looking at who I was going to bring in from an Arsenal perspective. But at the time, Saka showed that he had like a yellow flag or something. So I kind of put him to the side. But Martinelli is in my squad, as you can see. He is owned by almost half of FPL managers, which is why I wanted to go for that differential of Saka, but he does cost a bit more. 4 goals and 3 assists currently. In this game he has against Nottingham Forest, he has a projected points of 6.8. So I'm hoping he succeeds that, he gets a hat-trick or something. And he is also touted as a potential captain option as well, because Nottingham Forest are a easy team per se. It is at the Emirates Stadium, so we are hoping for the Arsenal boys to do what they can do and turn it on against Forest after their blip against Southampton, which they drew. Hopefully Martinelli can produce some returns for us. In comes the man of the moment. He is Miguel Almiron. He is £5.4 million at the minute, and he is still quite low owned. At the time I was recording, he is 17% owned, but he's the most transferred in player with over 500,000 FPL managers bringing him in for game week number 14. He has 6 goals in 5 games and is currently Newcastle's top scorer. He's also the 3rd highest XG amongst midfielders at 5.5. Now, what I like about Almiron is when he shoots on target in the box, he scores almost 70% of his shots. So for me, that makes him a fantastic asset, and that is what you can see from the 6 goals he's got in the last 5 games. Also, with Newcastle playing Aston Villa, who have a new manager, it was revealed it was Unai Emery, but he's having some work permit issues, so he's not even yet in the Aston Villa dugout. So they're still working with that kind of caretaker manager. So it could be an opportunity for Newcastle to really smash them whilst they're still in that kind of transition moment. And even after this game, Newcastle will have Southampton and Chelsea as well. But for 5.4 million, Almiron was definitely going to come in my squad, and I took him out. I took him in for Bowen because it just made sense for someone who's totally in form. Now moving on to my front three. Okay, let me get my teeth back in. Yeah, moving to my front three. First one is Callum Wilson, 7.3 million at the moment. Still such a great price for a person. Once he came back from injury, he's got 2 goals and 1 assist. As we know, he's the lone striker at Newcastle with Isak out till after the World Cup. And with Aston Villa coming to see them, they are yet to win on the road. Yeah, they have conceded 11 goals away from home. We're talking about Aston Villa now, and that is in 6 away games. So I am hoping that Callum Wilson makes that 12, 13, 14 away goals that they have conceded. He is so good when he is not injured, which is right now. He's a great price and also a great differential because only about 2.5% of all FPL managers own him currently. I own him, so I'm hoping that he can produce me some returns this game week. There was the option of looking at either Mitrovic or a Tony, but again, they were short-term punts. And a transfer that I didn't necessarily need to make is more of a sideways move, whereas I have held on Wilson for a couple of game weeks now, and he's a good differential for me. A lot of people have Mitrovic and Tony already, so I want to be a bit different. Next to him is Harry Kane, 11.5, 23% owned. Again, another differential I've got up front, and he has 10 goals and 2 assists in the whole of the season so far with an XG of 4.18. I think it's slightly behind Haaland at the moment. Now with Kane, he's been so consistent throughout the whole season, only blanking once in 11 matches, and he's just on fire, really. I think what he can do against Bournemouth, who are going to be a bit lackluster without Solanke, who got injured last game week. I think Kane could be a really, really good shout for captain. And next to him to complete my whole lineup is Erling Haaland. Now, as we know, there is a concern when it comes to Erling Haaland. Yes, he has 17 goals and 3 assists this season, but he is carrying an injury which has been widely documented over this game week. Pep said he's got an injury to his foot, he's got a fever, and that he was tired. That is literally all he said. He came off early in the game against Dortmund in the Champions League, but there was other news outlets that came on later in the week that said that he was fine, and Pep was going to see how he is. I think either today or possibly tomorrow. But I don't see Haaland starting. I really don't. I think they're going to look to protect him as much as they can. Yes, it's going to be a slightly difficult game against Leicester. I don't think Haaland's going to start purely because of those 3 reasons: injury to his foot, fever, and tiredness. He's played pretty much every minute of the FPL games. So I don't know. It's very, very, very difficult. If he doesn't play, I still have some good bench options which I will talk about in a second. But if he does play, Leicester are a tough team at the minute. They have kept 4 clean sheets in 5 matches. But we know that Haaland and the City team can penetrate any kind of defense. But I'm on the fence about this one, whether or not he's actually even going to get on the pitch in the first place. But for now, he's in my team. Now moving on to my bench. Right, the first player I have on my bench is Ward for Leicester. Now, I've made a few errors with keeping him on my bench for the last four game weeks now, particularly last game week, which hurt me crazily after another clean sheet. But this game is against Manchester City. So yeah, there was no chance I was going to put him in my squad. I saw an amazing stat that I saw on the fantasy Twitter actually. It said that Ward previously had conceded more goals than any other keeper in Premier League history after 7 games. But now, after 5 games, he's kept the joint second most clean sheets in FPL this season. So that's how the turnaround can happen in FPL. Someone who you're not even going to look at all. Maybe it was between Ward and Iverson, I think it was, when Schmeichel left. And now people are looking to have Ward as a starter in their team. But he's not going to start for me this week because they're playing Man City, and that just doesn't make any sense. One player I am considering, and I'm on the fence with this one, where I was going to bench Haaland for this guy, and that is Andreas Pereira. Only 4.6 million. He's owned by quite a lot of you, yes, but he's also a bench player for quite a lot of you as well. He's got 1 goal and 3 assists so far, 24 points over the last 4 game weeks. I am considering him. This might be a move I make maybe last second, taking him in for Haaland, possibly. There's no one in my midfield that I want to take out. So it's either Haaland or not really. So I'm just in 2 minds about what I'm gonna do about that. Next to him is Mark Gahey. I can never pronounce his name. He might come in if I hear that Cancelo isn't gonna be playing because of his flu-like symptoms that Pep was talking about. So if before the 11 o'clock deadline we hear some kind of team sheet news, I might then look to take out Cancelo and put in Gahey, because obviously it's Southampton, they're at home, so hopefully there's a clean sheet that kicks in there for those Palace defenders. They are much better at home than they are away, which I spoke about in my last video. Alongside them in my subs bench is Webster. Now he's going to stay as my last sub position as it's against Chelsea, so it might be difficult to keep a clean sheet even though they are at home. I think that Chelsea have more potential to score rather than a Gahey against Southampton at home. So yeah, Webster, he's going to stay there for now. My captain will be Harry Kane. He hasn't got any injury concerns at all. There is no Solanke for the Bournemouth team, as I was saying, and they're bottom for XG. Bournemouth are at the bottom for expected goals. So it just makes sense that I have Harry Kane as captain, because he hasn't blanked for so long, and it just makes sense. My vice captain is Haaland. Just in case Kane doesn't do anything, or he doesn't play, or injured in the warm up, then Haaland will be my captain. If he flops, then I guess I'll be a bit screwed then, isn't it? So I might actually move that to someone else, but I don't know. It is a bit of a toss up. That kind of Cancelo and Haaland situation is a bit tricky, so we're gonna have to wait and see, literally right up to the deadline, to see what we're gonna do about that one. So that is my team selection for game week number 14. 2 players have gone. They are Nico Williams and Jared Bowen, and I have brought in Almiron and Ben White. My memory just went for a second there. Almiron and Ben White have come in. Yes, they are cheap players, 1 enabler and 1 cheap defender, but I feel like these are differentials at this stage, so I'm happy with the choices that I've made, and hopefully Haaland does play. If he doesn't, I still have good bench options in Andreas Pereira and also Mark Gree that can come in as well. So I'm very happy with this squad. Hopefully I can get a fat green arrow, because I've been missing the mark for like a few game weeks now, and there's some players that I really need to catch in my mini leagues. Talking about mini leagues, if you haven't signed up to my auto link, I'm pointing there because that's the code, but down below in the description is where you can see my auto join for my mini league. Join it. This doesn't cost you anything to join it, and it also doesn't cost you to press that like button. Just press it right now as you're watching this. Press that like button, press subscribe. You will see when my next video is. If you press the bell as well, you get a notification. FPL Natty, join the crew, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.